All right, everybody, welcome back live at Drew's house. Another every time that new recording message they do gets me every single time. Hope everybody's doing all right. Live at Drew's house, another edition. I'm going to get right to my guest today. He's locked in, ready to go, and return guest. I had him on months and months ago as a group, but today it's just he and I. So I'm excited about this. I had become a real big fan of his music during the pandemic, actually. My wife, also a very big fan. I'll take credit for introducing her. But Will Dailey joins us on the show. Will, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm doing all right.
It's I was saying off the air to you. It is nice to see you virtually. It'll be good to see you in person someday. But we are close, aren't we?
Really close, actually. I've been seeing a lot of people in person recently.
Yeah, man. I was looking at your schedule. You're back out there. You got almost I don't know. Would you call it a full tour? You got a lot of dates out there.
Um, yeah, so I set a goal for myself to play 100 shows before the end of the year. And whatever today is, I don't even know what today is, but I played 30 so far. And I said, that's everything from playing festivals and clubs to I've probably played a dozen backyards so far. I played an island that this person hired me to play on an island, and they took all these boats out to the island and a generator and a PA, and it was just magical.
No way.
The rooftop of a bar down to the street because the owner of the bar wanted me to play, but at that time it was May or something. You couldn't play in the street. You couldn't play inside. So he's like, no one said you couldn't play on the roof, so I played on the roof.
That's
Uh,
hilarious.
yeah, just all kinds of wild gigs. And we just had our first club gig kind of inside. Um, I've been all over Connecticut and Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Um, just really wonderful.
That's cool. I want to talk about some of those unique gigs a little bit more too, but it must have, as cool as those were, it must have just been so nice to just be in an old school club with people again, right?
Yeah, that one was really fun because it was my second. Most of these have been solo. That was my second date with the band. We played one event, and then 2 nights later we played one event outside, and then 2 nights later in a club in Providence, Rhode Island, Askew, which we're going to every 2 months, and we're back there August 21st.
Is that a new club? I went to school in Providence. Is that a new club?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Past couple of years, and that was just it was wonderful. It was just felt more like you could feel the energy kind of cycle back into the room. I love playing outside too, but the energy kind of just goes and goes, the sonic energy, right?
Yeah.
But with the club, I don't know. I grew up in clubs, so I played in clubs since I was a kid. So uh, that felt really nice to return.
Return, exactly. What's the, real quickly on the island though, I need a couple more details on that. So you get a beautiful day. You're playing on an island. I won't ask you who got or rented or has an island. We won't get into that unless you want to share it. But that must be awesome. What's the coolest part about that? Bunch of boats honking horns, I take it?
So Jay-Z calls me up. He wants me to
Yeah.
play his island. No. um, I there's this beautiful island. It wasn't far off the Cape, and the people who planned it, it's wonderful. Friends, fans. I don't know the difference really sometimes between those two things.
It's a good thing.
And they just had this plan together. There's this beautiful uninhabited island, but they got this army of boats that would show up, and I played on the top of the dune with the PA to another 50 people on the beach and 2 dozen boats in the water with people on the boats. It was just the sun falling down over the ocean as I played. It was perfect. It was
That is
absolutely perfect. Yeah.
That is awesome. It's people getting creative. There was a lot of
Yeah.
that going on over the last year and a half. Last time we talked, it was part of the great work you were doing for and with the New England Musicians Relief Fund. I know that work is not over yet. It's going to take a long time for a lot of these people to get back on their feet. But it must have made you feel great to be a part of that during such a tough time for so many artists.
That was really successful. Um, I know firsthand the relief that comes when you get something like that in the mail, and even just for that one bill or that one payment that you need, that one little emergency, or as life has it, the thing that always springs up
Mhm.
when your means of work is gone. But not only your job and your income, but the thing that you've adhered your life to as a calling, as a part of your own healing and your own endurance through this, whatever all this is stripped away emotionally and physically, and then also financially. It it's been a slog for so many artists. A lot of artists found, and I did in little pockets of it. You found these moments of grace, but I also spent a lot of it curled in a ball on the floor, wondering what the hell I've done with my life, and if I can really climb out of this.
Mm.
And I'm just not alone in that at all, not even remotely. So
Yeah, I know a lot of people were in those moments. You also spent a lot of it in the shower.
I did. So yeah, there were moments like that. But that was the beginning of all this, where I thought, especially when we were raising all that money, I just thought this is going to be a month long.
Yeah.
All right, this might be 2 months. Um,
We should clarify before we go any further. You were playing music in your shower because it sounded freaking cool.
yeah,
Just to clarify.
right. And in the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing it. We were raising money for clubs, and the workers there were non-salary. The sound staff, the bartenders, the door people working the door. We did another one for the city of Chelsea, which was hit hard by the pandemic. All in all, it was around $37,000 raised. But then I was 2.5 months into a pandemic, and I thought, man, I don't really have a plan for myself or how to keep going through all this. And at that point, there were so many fundraisers. I was like, all right, everyone's helping everybody. I need to figure out what it is I'm going to do to survive throughout all this. And I took a long break from the streaming, also because there's this thing with the streaming that I couldn't quite cope with as a performer. It's that my whole life there's that give and take and that energy that's exchanged, and that reciprocity, that reciprocal kind of relationship that you have. Um, so I would close my laptop after streaming or whatever I was doing to stream, and feel like something was missing, and I couldn't even like pinpoint it for a long time, because I just thought it was nice to be able to connect and people were happy with it.
So a lot of those streamings actually took you to a kind of a darker place, even.
In a way, because something was, until I could put my finger on it and
Mm.
understand it and address it, then I could go back to it. Because I took like a 6 month break, maybe even longer, from even going online to stream. And then I just kind of tried to do it once a week, just for my own kind of exercise and mental health, to just stay fit performing or playing it to anything. But the most important part about all this is being in the same room, and you see that happen with so much of what we struggle with as a world right now. I was trying to think of what's the right word here. I would say as a world, is that we are not having true shared experiences. There's something to be said for a country when it has to, when everyone rises up in World War II to go to war, it was people from every walk of life, then learning about each other and having to stand side by side. Country hasn't really had that experience since then. And then you have things like Habitat for Humanity, Peace Corps. Those things bring people together from all over the country and go to do something, help other people, right? In arts, get people in the same room having a shared experience of emotion and skill sets and stories of being human. And when all that's taken away from us over a long period of time, and our stories are somewhat being shared over these devices, which are wonderful in so many ways, we've had this like global atrophy of some of the most important parts of being human. So I guess this is the long way of saying like why I just decided when this was over, I'm going to play 100 shows of any type. And a couple of them have been a little bit rough and a little bit like, okay, now I know why I stopped doing these a long time ago, kind of thing. But they didn't feel horrible like they used to years ago when I did stop doing them, because I realized I had moved beyond those type of shows. It felt good to dip my toe and everywhere and be in the room with people.
When did you first have that idea to do, you know what, I'm going to come out of this. I'm sick of the streaming. I'm going to come out of this and play 100 shows. Do you remember when that hit you?
It was somewhere around February when I was like, we still didn't really know what was going on, but I thought I have to do something or I'll lose my mind. My whole being has been designed to do this, either by my own stubbornness or by something built into me, or most likely a combination, right? And so I've done it my whole life, and now it's gone. I've kind of suffered, and I've atrophied, and I've kind of died a little inside. And this was the fastest way to healing. And going back to what I know is important for us as human beings right now, at a time that feels like it's continually in crisis, even when we keep saying things are getting better, things are getting better. It's almost like we have an anxiety to say things are getting better instead of just going and doing the work. And 100 shows is me going and doing the work for myself and for what I feel like I can contribute right now.
Very cool. Again, Will Dailey joining us. So where are you coming to us from here, Will?
I'm coming from my home studio right now, just kind of sitting back. Everything's in a mess right now because there's just equipment everywhere. So I'm just sitting on the floor by my guitars and my friend's artwork. I'm in Boston.
You're in Boston. Gotcha. Okay. Is that, you can show off the artwork. So go ahead, give them a.
My friend Gunnar Fox sent me this artwork. It's like all hand drawn, little tiny.
Oh.
Pieces, and he sent it to me. I just haven't hung it up yet. I have to situate it in the frame a little better. But he did some cover art for my album Back Flipping Forward and a single of mine called Wings Born on the Way Down. And he's just a wonderful friend. And
beautiful. Well, we wish him all the best. Very good. You know, naturally, the two times I've talked to you, one was in the heart of the pandemic, and now as we hopefully put this thing behind us for good here at some point soon. But naturally, a lot of our conversations have been about that. The music, let's get away from it a little bit though, because I can tell you your well thought out answers. I find you to be very informative when I ask questions. So here you go. You ready?
okay.
Wondering, like I noticed during the pandemic, we played a lot of music. Like my wife and I would just listen to songs, and it's, you know, it's great to find a new artist like you. I discovered you during the pandemic. And then, you know, you play it out to family. Somebody just catches the ear. What song is that? Who was that? I've had a lot of that happen with you. It keeps coming up. I have a couple songs on my Songs in Quarantine playlist that I call. And I wonder, I know the momentum's been stopped here by the pandemic, but is that cool coming up through the ranks? Like just seeing wherever that comes from, that build, okay, so these people heard this somewhere. Like, I don't know those people, but there must be like kind of a rewarding feeling that most people don't get to ever experience.
You kind of bring up a thought, something I think about and try to, I think so much of the arts and the arts economy is designed so the artist ends up feeling bad about their progress, certainly in America. And I've played in other countries, and I know that it is kind of a unique feeling. And there's other things about how arts are designed in America that make it unique and special too. But in America, you're always, some of the people who support me the most say, I'm sorry you're not more well known. And I was like, but you know me and love me, and I want to let you know that you're enough. And what I love about my career is that I always feel like I'm ripe for discovery. I have successes, and successes that I measure, successes that other people call successes. I'm just playing a trick on the world where I get to make music for my life and my time here on this rock. It feels like a coup at times, especially the way everything is designed to be able to do that. And I love the idea of nothing precedes me in my career. There's no one-hit wonder or single moment or TV show contest that I was on that precedes me when I walk in the room. The only thing I bring with me is songs in the performance. And that changes from night to night, what I might play or what I might do. And some years I go by and I don't play a song for years, and then I play it straight nonstop. And I love the idea of what you're saying, of just that you discovered this now. I've been doing it for a long time. And from you, three other people might. And my goal is not to have a lot of people like me. That seems like a strange goal with art. You want the right people to like you. You want the people who need what you're doing and the perspective you're bringing to feel like, man, I'm kind of looking for this. And then I want those very same people to hear the next song and be like, what the hell is that? I don't get it, you know? And then hear the next one and be like, that, oh, I get what he's doing there. You don't want everyone to like what you're doing or fit into a box or a genre or, you know, in the business of music, that's how you're pushed. You're pushed to like be folk or be hip hop or be pop. Or be indie or whatever all those things mean or do. That's a lot of pages get filled up with words, but you really can't talk about music.
And let's face it, you kind of see both sides of the spectrum here too, because like, let's not downplay where you're at too. I mean, you're on a bill with Pearl Jam at a festival, if I remember correctly, right? Or the
Yeah.
I mean, so not too many people get to say that, but you also, I know, you're very close, and I'm sure you have had fellow musicians that you know are just damn good that couldn't make it because it's a hard business. I mean, it must be a pretty interesting spot to be in, to see kind of both of those very different, you know, the plateau and the downside.
Yeah. Well, I also believe everyone has art in them. That's the thing that we're not taught in school. It's not, you don't have to go to art class. You don't have to take the recorder up in 3rd grade. You get to. And we give the kids the recorder in the 3rd grade as an intro. Okay, that makes sense. But what we should really be doing is exposing every child to every instrument that's ever existed, because we're all called to something. And it's not just instruments. It could be gardening, it could be pottery, it could be painting, film, photography, art we haven't even thought of yet, right? But to not provide that, you know, robs everyone of that experience. And I think when you want to then go put yourself through the ringer and make it your career, all right, then you're like just signing up for a little bit of abuse and you're a little sadistic. But that's me, and that's a couple of my peers and stuff like that. But everyone should have the opportunity to engage in art, cooking, whatnot. And what we do with music especially is shut it off at a couple instruments, a couple classical instruments, a couple popular instruments. But we don't show a kid the oud. We don't show a kid, you know, the thumb piano or whatever it is. And I think that's, you know, almost a systematic strikeout in a way. But what I also love is when you don't do that, music finds a way. That's how we got rock and roll. It's like, you know, you're not going to teach all these kids, especially those without the means and the privileges of an education and instrument. Well, we'll just get this $25 guitar at Sears, plug it into this box and turn it up louder, and put all that emotion of being locked out into these songs. And then you have $1 billion industry that takes over the world. Same thing happened with hip hop, because you didn't teach rock and roll and pop and classical then. So, all right, well, we can't afford the guitar now because that's too expensive, because the privileged class has it. So we're going to take this turntable and this microphone and come up with a whole new industry and blow your minds. And all right, so now you're not going to teach turntables and microphones in hip hop. Well, we're just going to use our computers and make music, and that's going to be really frustrating to the people who are in control, and the adults who we don't sound like anymore because they didn't give us access. And I kind of love it. I love the trajectory of, like, music finds a way no matter what.
I like that. Music always finds a way. Again, we're being joined here by Will Dailey. I like that my very long initial question there led to that answer. I knew it would be well thought out. I eventually got to it with my long question. That was good.
I had some sugar before this, so.
Good. Well, I got to where I wanted, even though it wasn't the best asked question in the world. On that note, I know a lot of artists, I don't know how you feel about this. You know, sometimes they like to be taken as full albums, that sort of thing. A lot of artists don't love necessarily talking about individual songs. I do remember 2 instances though, where I was, you know, blasting my playlist, which is always going over my speaker. And there was Sprawl was one, and Higher Education were 2. And I remember in 2 situations, I was like, wow, that's funny. That's Will again, where a different person has asked me to play it again, because you do have very well thought out lyrics. And for those of you who haven't listened to your music, I'm sure it's not all the most serious. I mean, if you're writing super serious songs, every time you write a song, you're probably going to go insane. Right. But a lot of that music is very, you can tell it's very thought out. Sometimes it takes a second playback. Maybe it's why it takes a few times to really catch on to you. That might be the boat where I was in. I was kind of a late bloomer to you. But you play back these songs and you go, wow, I know what he's saying there. And is that kind of a cool feeling to watch develop also?
Yeah, and I'm really kind of going for that, I think,
Yeah.
and I really appreciate that, and I really like to find the people who have that experience. That's my goal, is to have the people come back and then have them, through a couple gateway songs, go to the ones that might take 3 listens and then realize, shit, I love that one. Um, uh, and I think on my last record, Golden Walker, I, I at every turn, even the songs that we thought were more catchy or whatever the word is, just tried to make them a little bit more, I don't want to say challenging or annoying. I want to say worth earning. Um, and that, you're in the tyranny of content right now. 60,000 songs come out a day. I don't want to make it easier for you, and I don't want to make it something you can put on in the background. I don't want to take advantage of you. I don't want to take advantage of your time. I don't want to, I'd rather earn the affection the right way, if that means the long way. And so that's what I was focusing on that record, and maybe all of them.
Mm.
But I also like taking adventures with music. I like being able to. I don't want any type of music. I don't want to be stuck to a genre or a sound. Um, I want to be able to use all the colors I've ever seen.
I bet that has put you at odds with a lot of people that have probably tried to maybe take hold of your music career a little bit, because that is not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you tend to find people that go, nope, you got to be, you're this. This is your box, and this is where you need to be.
100%, and I don't disagree with them either. For a career in music, and I say that to people who ask me for advice if they're younger or they're starting out. I say, just know that you're making that choice. Now, I didn't really know when I was starting out that I was making that choice necessarily. I was reacting to my own self, right? I wish someone sat me down and said, totally get it, totally understand, just want you to know you're making this choice because the world's designed to go this way, and it'll be harder. Now with 7-8 records, I can see how the harder road pays off in certain ways, and I can see how it doesn't in certain ways. I'm still very much a DIY artist, and part of 100 shows is I wouldn't even know how to go to make a record right now, how to budget it, how to risk spending all that money for all that time to do it how I'd want to do it, which takes time and people and other human beings in the room to share the experience with, and then put it out and market it at a time where there's just the tyranny of content is just trying to, men in black everybody, and then speaking the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and get everyone's attention. I also don't want to participate in that and feel like I'm doing anything soulful. If I want to also be soulful in the music, I have to behave that way, in the path that the music takes.
Is there an artist that you kind of maybe look up to, or older or whatever, that has kind of been able to find that maybe exploded to be big, and they've kind of had that same mindset as you, like I'm very comfortable in my own pocket, but maybe it even got out of their control and they suddenly became bigger than even they expected?
Yeah. I would definitely say Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder. The way that those guys ran their career when they're on the cover of Time magazine and own all of rock radio around the world. And during a time of MTV, they just stopped making videos, stopped playing big venues. They said that music's the only thing that matters, and whatever repercussions come with these decisions, that's fine. That was a huge lesson when I was a kid, right? And so to get to play with him later and say all that's been pretty tremendous. Fugazi is another band that I view that way. But then there's guys like there's Fiona Apple, who's released like 5 records since the 90s, and they're all just fantastic. And
So
she
true.
does it to her own thing. She's like a North Star for me. Joan Armatrading, who I've discovered recently in the past 5, 10 years. Um, her music's all over the place, but it's always just beautiful. I find her very influential. And then Rufus Wainwright, like does everything from opera to just beautiful songwriting, but he's mixing in traditional things, leaning forward a little bit, just super super musical, and the words matter. He's great. So I'm a little all over the place there
Yeah.
too. Um, I could go on that, but
No, it's a great answer. I wonder. I know you're going out as a trio, correct, for a lot of these upcoming shows.
yeah, I think most of the ones that are on there, I think I'll be solo on the West Coast. Um, City Winery in 2 weeks for trio.
Yeah. See, I
Um,
was going to say. So for those of you who don't know, your return to Boston, a real Boston show, is on. What was it, the 22nd? And
22nd of July at
and
City Winery.
yes, which is a cool spot. I know that date off the top of my head without even having to look because I know I'm out of town at a bachelor party because I'd be there if not. Uh,
Yeah, there's so many things going on right now. It's when I was booking everything in February and March, it was a fish in a barrel, and now there's just so much competition. I think September's and October, November is going to be insane
yeah.
with tours and everything.
Think about just marriages. I have buddies that were supposed to get married a couple of years ago and had it
100%.
all canceled. Now here we go. We got to catch up.
100%.
Yeah.
But I always say, like, well, I'll just keep doing it for a living then. If people can't make the one show I want to do, can't,
Yeah. If you just keep doing 100 shows out of the gate every time, we'll be fine.
right. And that's why you keep playing, because everyone can't come to one show. And
Yeah.
what I love too about all these things is just that feeling. It's kind of like baseball players or baseball teams getting hot, and baseball players getting hot. It's how it feels with the band, how it feels even when I'm playing solo or with my drummer, Dave Brophy. Um, you play show, but then you just get hot, and the next night kicks up, and the bipolar disorder of just playing so many shows. You have this one show, and you're like, oh, we're crushing it, and the next night there's even more people there, but somehow you feel or do worse or something. And then but everyone told you it was great, and then you have one where you think you were great, and no one seems to like think it's as great. It's just the feeling of that you really missed after a year and a half. It wears on you after some time too.
I was going to say that doesn't necessarily sound healthy, but okay.
But also after taking such a long break, you're like, okay, that's not a big deal to have that happen. That's okay. Because the alternative is you don't do any of it.
Yeah.
You're in your shower singing to this little green light right there. And
And not getting any of this back.
right. So yeah, it's just the adventure continues, and I'm playing a lot of the new songs that I have live. Because I was thinking, why, recorded music's 100 years old, but music's been around for thousands and thousands of years. Our job as the artist is not to continuously just keep running to the same conveyor belt that dumps stuff into the same abyss and think that anything's going to change. That would be the most unartistic thing I can do. And, a couple journalists even say, oh, when's your next record? When's your next record? Then we'll write about you. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go play 100 shows and figure out the next thing. Play my new songs live.
Fine. If you're going to wait for an album, I'll just do Drew's show then. Perfect.
Exactly.
Again, Will Dailey joining us. The reason I had asked about the trio, though, was because you have that unique talent that I think, for instance, like somebody asked me for my take on Taylor Swift within the last month or two. And I remember saying to myself, like, it's weird. She writes a lot of, the boyfriend songs and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, but like, she's the real deal though. Like, I mean, she writes her own music. She plays her own, she can go up there by herself and get the attention of a crowd. Like, she'll probably grow into something great. That would be my take. And I think with you have that ability to, whether it be a trio, band, yeah, you're great with that, but you also can just go up on a stage with a guitar and gain an audience and have all eyes on you, and just immediately people are locked in. And you probably take that for granted, but I think that's a very unique talent to have.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Um, you know, the talent of it, I have been performing since I was a kid. Um, and, I grew up in a sports town and couldn't hit or catch a ball to save my life. And found refuge in musical theater and bands and talent shows, and always, loved the power of performing. And I have bombed that job so many times. I've, and I will do it again. It happens, everyone strikes out once in a while. And um,
Even on those nights, though, do you find some?
hard earned, I guess. I mean, it's been earned and developed, and um, I'm grateful to get to do it in this lifetime.
Even on those nights, though, when you think you're striking out, or like, Will, you're not at your best tonight. You say to yourself, whatever. You don't think you sound good, whatever. Do you ever like lock in on a face in the crowd, like, and just say that person is all in on this, like that's what I'm doing it for, and maybe it gives you an extra adrenaline rush? I don't know.
100%. I mean, that's almost healthier to do. I produce a lot of records for other people, and if we're doing their vocals, only because I've experienced this. If I'm cutting my vocals and it's my band in the room and the producer, I was like, I could cut this song, I could find its origins, I could find its soul, and that happens. But sometimes you're exhausted, sometimes something's on your mind. You bring in 3 fresh people into the room, it just changes the dynamic, it changes the energy. It goes back to what I was saying before. We all need each other, and in various degrees, and in big ways and in little ways. And that's what I love about performing too, is that sometimes knowing someone special is going to be there. Sometimes locking into someone, like you say, you see someone, it changes you. Or just the energy from the room becomes this thing. Sometimes the challenge of, this is going bad, I have to turn this around. And that happened recently at one of these house concerts I did, where I was like, this is shaping up. Everyone got brought too much alcohol to this party, and I'm playing solo. How do I dial this in? And I was like, this could go really bad, and I need to just figure that out.
Wouldn't that be a friendly crowd? Maybe they were friendly and just too drunk. Was that the deal?
Right. No, they just get too hammered.
Yeah.
It's only there's a lot of things you can ingest to make a show great, but you can't ingest any one of them too much.
It's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
I wonder, as we talk about the performing live and getting back to Boston and all that stuff. As you look forward, do you have, besides the 100 shows, do you have is there a certain like personal goal you have in mind? I know for you, it's not about winning over a fan base, or it's not about, you don't care about numbers like that, but is there something that Will Dailey's looking for out of these next batch of shows?
I mean, I do care about winning a fan base, I think. I just want to win the right one. I want to in the right way, I guess. Yeah.
You know what I mean, though. There's something.
Yeah, I do.
There's something that get me to Gillette Stadium. That's all I want.
Well, honestly, with this 100 shows, I have. It's not announced yet or anything like that, but it's fine to talk about. I think 2 nights, it might be 3 nights in December, second weekend of December, which would be at the Burn in Somerville, Massachusetts. And the Burn is a room, a friend books it. The way we situate the room, it can hold like 140 people. So we do like 2-3 nights in a row. And it's like a 7 to 9 o'clock show. And I want that to be show 90, 99, 100. And it's the kind of thing where the front part of the room's sitting down, the back part's all standing up. And you can see everybody, and you can lock in, you can play like really intimately, and we can be really loud. And I like to kind of have that variation throughout my shows. I like to start with a whisper and end with a bang if we can.
Ooh, good line.
yeah, my goal is to make that 99, 100. I don't honestly know if I'll make it to 100 shows. I haven't counted how many are booked right now recently. And since I started playing them, booking them has become more difficult. But we're really doing all kinds. And I don't know, my friend owns a bar. Maybe he'll just let me pad the numbers by playing there on, Tuesday nights. Um, but it really is more like a soul exercise more than it is, you know, any kind of monument that I'm trying to create. It's really just my own mental state of being and my own heart, my own endurance, and what it takes to just to do it the way I want to be able to do it.
Something struck me about the recording process you just mentioned too, a moment ago, where you said it felt completely different when you just brought a couple people in, which brings a lot of stuff home for me. Because I remember I was surprised. One of my favorite live bands to see, I think is a guy you're friendly with, or at least know a little bit, is Chad Stokes in Dispatch. And I mean, one of the more respected live bands out there. And I remember he told me, like, when it comes to, he loves the recording process. He likes going through it. He likes the process of it. Writing is right in there too. He loves writing songs. It unleashes all this stuff. It gets all this stuff on the page that he has, bottled up. And he said probably third for me, honestly, is performing live. And I was like, on that list, third is performing live for like Chad Stokes. Like, that is not what I would have guessed. And then I watched a couple of his recording sessions and I'm like, all right, well, he's got all his friends and family in there and it's one big joyous experience. This is, it's not him grinding by himself. That makes sense to me. Okay, now I get it.
All these in the studio, it's just, when you're in there with the right people on the right day, the right moment, the right food, the right sounds, the right instruments, everything's in the A+ category. This is one cerebral brain that's operating in this beautiful way. And when there's a problem, when there's some sort of hurdle, there's someone in that group that you trust to get you over it. It might be yourself. It might be, the engineer. It might be a friend stopping by. It might be someone in the band. I think my longtime musical partner, Dave Brophy, and I, who's been on 90% of everything I've recorded, we love that kind of stuff. We love the problems, and we love when that we're in that one hive mind together. There's nothing really that beats it. And I think a lot of creative fields have that. I imagine the writing room of some films or TV shows or SNL, gets like that once in a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, and sports teams too. Like when you just know someone in the team is things aren't going well, but you got that feeling someone's in this team is gonna make this game happen, and then the next person will, and then the next person will. Again, we all need each other. It's not the one single person that can do this.
Good stuff. Recurring theme of that interview. We all need each other. I like that. Little rapid fire with Will Dailey. Let's bring it home here. Did we do this last time as a group? I can't remember.
I don't remember yesterday, so don't ask me.
Okay, fair enough. And it was, it was a pandemic rapid fire. It's completely different. This is a whole different thing now. All right. Biggest, number one, I know it's tough, but biggest musical influence of all time.
Oh, man.
Yep. Sorry. Tough one off the bat.
I mean, part of me would say Eddie Vedder off of Ethics.
Is he as cool as he seems, by the way?
Yeah, beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond that. Ethically, as an artist, him and everyone in that family and team. But then there's like David Bowie, probably Prince, stuff like that. But Bowie especially, that was crushing for me because Bowie I kind of view as like a god, and I'm someone with his good book. And I go around, and that's my job, is to go around with that energy and read from that, so to speak.
Yeah, I hear.
And there's a lot of people like him that are regarded in that way, but for my single answer, I would say there's Joni Mitchell too. So it's tough.
I'll give you a quick Bowie story. I don't know if you know the name Bradley J. He used to work for WBCN.
Oh yeah.
and did the worked for WBZ, which is where I'm a reporter also. And he was telling me that one night he's a diehard Bowie fan, and he would always talk about Bowie. David Bowie picked up on it during BCN and realized how nice the station was to him and always playing his stuff. So when he came to Boston, he shows up and asked, he got a phone call, Bradley J did, from David Bowie. He goes, "I would like you to introduce me at the Boston Garden tonight. Is that a possibility?" And he was like, "Yes, it is."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I just remember he was always talking. I love that story. I just remember Bradley J, good man out there,
Yeah.
Bradley J. But David Bowie, does it feel like, I don't know if it's the pandemic or what, it feels like we lost like Bowie, Prince, Tom Petty, like all in way too short of a time span. Like, I mean, I know there's never a good time for those losses, but man, it felt like a tough little span for music there.
Yeah, and it's still kind of coming, man. I think a lot of icons from the 60s through, the mid 90s were made in a way that they're not made anymore. They're made in a different way now, and they'll be experienced in a different way. But and a lot of young artists pass now, as Kurt Cobain passed when he was young. There was more of a global experience with Kurt Cobain, as with like Nipsey Hussle, there was a community experience, or I want to say Mac Miller,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That was the other guy who passed. He was well known, he was popular, but he wasn't a pop star. Where there's a part of Kurt Cobain where he was a pop star because of just the way our media world was designed. So it's also just a different experience, not one more or less than the other, but a different experience where it feels like these tent poles were kind of lost.
Yeah, for me being 34, the Cobain thing, I wasn't quite really present for, but like I grew up in high school going to see Tom Petty shows. And I guess in my perfect little world in my head, I'm thinking like, I'll take my kids to go see Tom Petty someday. Like,
Right.
he's going to be around forever. And then that suddenly is taken away. And it's like, whoa.
Right.
You
No,
know?
I know. And I think a lot of this, you look at Prince, you look at Tom Petty too. I mean, Tom wasn't healthy. Prince wasn't healthy. Can be a really unhealthy lifestyle.
How do you stay so healthy, Will Dailey?
Well, work at it, I guess. Address it, face it head on when it rears its head. The booze and the drugs are always free in this business. So, and you're asked, to drive 10 miles to work for 2 hours. I mean, 10 hours, drive 10 hours to work for 2 hours, and then drive 2 more, maybe sleep. It's a lot crazier than you can imagine. There's planes and, all these things that just kind of build up. But I love doing it for a long time. That's the other thing. So part of my health with it is I don't want to not be doing it.
Gotcha. Well, I think we all relate to that. All right, we'll get back on track. Rapid fire. Favorite venue to play in of all time?
There's a club in the town of Fougères, France, called Les Coquelicots.
I thought you were going to pick that one.
Which holds about 100 people that I really, really love. And I love the town and the people there. But I love the club. It's so wonderful.
How about favorite Boston venue?
Favorite Boston venue? I mean, I've had so many experiences at the Paradise in Boston. So many heavy, wonderful experiences since 19 years old and up through right before the pandemic was the last time I played there in February for Hot Stove Cool Music with, I forget who we had, but had all the Hot Stove Cool Music family. And so I'd probably have to say the Paradise, but I love the Plow and Star. I also love all the tiny clubs. I love the Plow and Stars. I love Club Hassim, and I love the Burn. I love Toad and the Lizard Lounge. I love Sinclair. So
you love the City Winery.
I love the City Winery. I have to say that No, wait, they have to earn it a little bit more. They've been around for like 3-4 years.
Sorry. Yep.
Um,
Great location though, right in the center
yeah,
of the.
and it's nice to have clubs down there. You know, it's nice to have clubs in that part of Boston. That's why I'm like, I played Fenway Park last 2 years ago on the rooftop. I have a concert series up there, and but this is my first time playing in Boston proper in 2 years because it's just not someplace that has a lot of clubs that you go play.
It's hard to choose your favorite when you're from here too, I think.
Yeah.
Growing up in them. What is the album or rock star, whatever, that made you first pick up the guitar and say, I want to do that?
Probably Eddie Van Halen, AC/DC, a lot of grunge music. But Eddie Van Halen was I had this crazy older stepbrother, and my father got remarried. He was cool to me. He was in college. I was 11, something like that. He loved Van Halen, Metallica, you know, classic rock, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so something about Eddie Van Halen in that relationship there was big.
You ever think of like coming out for an acoustic show and opening up like Eddie Van Halen and just
Well, when he died, we do this cover of "I Would Die for You" sometimes live, and it's a slowed down version of Prince's "I Would Die for You." And so I did a tapping solo in it. On the night he died, or when he passed, we had a show outside in Providence last October. So I did some tapping in honor of Eddie Van Halen. But no, I mean that's what I love about him is like you really can't just go out and do it, you know. That's what makes him so special and unique. And I thought his passing was even a little overlooked because he represents a time of extravagance and he smiles a lot too when he played.
and I just think there was so much just so much death too, you know, like I think the same
Yeah,
way about like John Prine too. It's like
right.
sometimes I have forgotten that I'm a huge John Prine fan, and sometimes I almost like forget he's gone because it happened during a time of just so much death, and it's like I think that can overwhelm you sometimes. You forget it's true.
100%, 100%. I remember when John Prine died. I was playing in the shower. They're like, "Play John Prine." I was like, "Man, I haven't even played a Chris Cornell song."
Mm.
Or I just stopped playing the Tom. Not stop, but like people just stopped requesting Tom Petty. Now it's time to request John Prine, and like we went right over Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
There's all these things. So I went and learned some Chris Cornell songs. And
Did you ever get a chance? Did you meet him a little bit?
no. I mean, no. I kind of got up into the business around 09, 08, 09, and
Yeah.
uh, yeah. No, and I first met Eddie Vedder in 2015, and got to play with a bunch of so many people. Roger McGuinn,
Yeah.
T-Bone Burnett, Jacob Dylan's been wonderful.
All those guys, again, just goes to fit into that category of can just go do it by themselves. I just that ability to just walk on stage is just and just captivate an audience. I just think is such an amazing talent to have. Cornell had it with the guitar, and I mean one of the best voices I think of rock history. Man, could he sing?
Yeah.
Let's end on a little bit of an uplifting note. We have a lot of during the week. We'll have a lot of like the high school kids on here, and whether they're making news for sports, arts, whatever. And I always like asking this question for somebody who's been through a lot of it. What is the best career advice you ever got?
I mean, with the arts, there is no destination. There's no salary or retirement date or vice president slot or whatever it is you would do. There's just no destination. It's a way of being. And the way of being is a dedication that you adopt. It's kind of like being a Jedi Knight or something, or a monk.
Or a monk.
If you want to do it, then you can kind of accept the things that happen along the way, which are of a reality that is made by people who usually aren't doing the art. And so it's more a way of being than a destination.
Are you going to be like people joke about Bob Dylan. They say Bob's just going to keep playing until the day he goes. He'll die on a stage somewhere. Is that you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't care what stage that is. If that's the stage in the old folks' home, that's the stage, man. I'll do 100 dates in the old folks' home.
That is a priceless way to end the show. We didn't even talk about it. We could talk for hours. I got a good atmosphere going here with you. Did you want to play? We didn't even talk about that off the camera.
None of these are tuned, I don't think. Yeah, this is all got like hydrators in them. Everything's packed up, for shows.
No, then we're good. This is perfect. I would prefer it this way sometimes. It's always great when artists play, but quite frankly, like your streaming, I think I'm good with I would like to see people in person from now on.
I think you're absolutely right. And after everything I just said, I think it would be inappropriate.
That's good. I'm glad we landed on this. This is fantastic. Will Dailey, I enjoyed having you on last time too, but this was even better. Just you and I going at it like for a little bit. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for all the great work you did with the New England Musicians Relief Fund. And even though you didn't enjoy every night of it, I know, but thank you for the streaming that you did do. I tuned in a bit. You weren't a fan of me during the pandemic, myself, and at least like 4 or 5 cousins that I've been playing music for. So there's a win, right? And I'm also hearing from Taylor Swift's agent that Taylor is thrilled that she got my approval earlier in the show. I figured I shouldn't let that pass, but
right.
Yeah, because she's struggling. So
right.
But seriously though, thank you for that. I remember you telling me one thing. I have one comment that you made in the heart of this pandemic, and it stuck with me for some reason because I was like, "That's a genuinely good dude right there." But how you were saying you were trying to help out some bartenders, just because like those are the places we play. I think a lot of musicians are trying to like look out for the bartenders and look out for those clubs that we used to always play at. And I remember you saying then you had the realization like, wait a minute, I'm going to be out of work for a long time too. And that was like when it kind of hit you how bad that was. But I don't know, it just always stuck with me that even in that time you were kind of thinking about others, and I always appreciated that about you.
Thanks. I appreciate you taking the time and having me on, man.
It was a lot of fun. I will let you get back to you're a busy man, 100 shows, so go do it, all right?
All right, thank you.
I'll see you on the road. Unfortunately, not on the 22nd, but...
I'll keep doing it for a living until you can make it, and then I'll retire.
Okay. Whoa, wow, yeah, okay.
To my old age home where I play 100 shows a night.
Are there tickets sold to the old age home?
No, it's probably going to be included in the package that... guts the money from every person that they've earned in their lifetime. Okay, that's another subject for another show. I'll talk to you again.
See you, Will. Thanks, bud.